Hello out there, guys. How are you all doing? Welcome back to Rule of Two Review. Now, really quickly before we get started, I just wanted to let you guys know that I plan on holding one of my infamous Q&As, this time specifically centered around E3. Of course, E3 is counting down. This video is one of many that, of course, is dedicated to E3, and I wanted to have one of my Q&As where I get to interact with you guys, give you guys shout-outs, answer your direct questions you have to me specifically about E3. I expect for it mostly to be Nintendo-related, of course. That's the most interesting thing. That's what we all love to talk about. But I welcome anything E3 related. It could be about the Scorpio. It could be about what Sony might be showing off, or, you know, God of War, Last of Us things, whatever the case may be. If it's E3 related or Nintendo related, I want you to ask me. So I'm not taking any questions in the video, so you don't need to post your questions in the comments below. I have, of course, the Twitter post where I'm asking for your guys' question. I also have one up on Facebook as well. I'm going to try to remember to just link those below, or, of course, if you follow me on those places, most of you guys, of course, follow me on Twitter, you can just ask me there. And I'm going to grab a whole cool selection of those questions and answer them in probably about a week or two as we get closer and closer to E3. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the good stuff. We finally got confirmation from Nintendo about what they're going to be doing at E3. It's pretty interesting. It's really exciting. There's a couple of weird things I need to get into. Some potential, maybe not great stuff. But overall, it's just good to finally have the details, man. It's good to know what Nintendo is planning on doing. As I've talked about many times, Nintendo is the weird mystery going into E3 every year. Although, I guess mystery seems kind of like a misnomer, because the mystery is, ooh, what are they going to do this year for E3? And literally for every year, going back now 5 years, with the exception of last year doing just the Treehouse, but every other year, they've been doing digital events. I mean, that's what we've become accustomed to. So technically, it's not a mystery because we know to expect no press conference and some sort of internet presentation, and that's basically what we have again this year. So what we have to look forward to this year, as you can see by the info that Nintendo posted today, that you can see right here, is we have Nintendo Spotlight E3 2017, which is a very different phrase than digital event or Nintendo Direct or E3 Direct or any of that stuff that they've given us before. And I think that that's pretty interesting. So they're not giving us what they're calling a digital event. They're calling it a Nintendo Spotlight, which I find interesting. That may mean absolutely nothing and we're going to get the exact same kind of content, or it may mean something a little bit differently. So, of course, again, looking at the infographic here, the Nintendo Spotlight is going to happen on June 13th, which is Tuesday at 9 a.m., and then, of course, they're reconfirming again, the Treehouse is going to happen throughout the rest of the course of the next few days, focusing on Nintendo Switch and Nintendo 3DS games. We kind of knew to expect that. Good to see it coming back. And then the other pretty cool little fun aside that they're doing is more live tournaments, but they're focusing them on two brand new games, which is really cool. They're doing a Splatoon 2 tournament and an ARMS tournament, or an open invitational as they're calling it, at E3, at the booth on the show floor for Nintendo. That is freaking awesome, man. Like, I think that that's really super cool, and I've only been to E3 once, way back in 2004, very different time in industry. And I've looked into what it would take for me to go this year. I do, of course, have a couple of contacts at Nintendo, the folks that invited me directly, not through any of the My Nintendo stuff, but directly invited me to attend as sort of like press, if you want to say, to the Switch event in New York that myself and Robert from Gaming with Me got to go to back in January, which was really great. And I may talk to them about some of this stuff in the future. This year, I honestly didn't even have the time to be able to do it, so I wasn't even going to worry about it. But man, it makes me really sad I'm not going to get to play these games in this sort of competitive fashion. Yes, I played them both back in January, but to do it for a tournament at E3 would be amazing. Anywho, getting back to the goods here, let's talk about this Spotlight. Can we expect the exact same thing as a digital event? I do think that yes, we can. To me, this is just a different phrasing or a different wording of what is probably going to be the same thing. As I mentioned a minute ago, there is the chance, given how kind of differently they're sort of packaging this whole thing and naming things, that it's somehow going to be different from a digital event. But I don't really see how. I mean, if we get a 45-minute or so prepackaged presentation that just covers one game to another game to another game, whether they're new games or games we already knew about, technically that would be pretty much the same thing. And we know Nintendo, we understand their flair and their style. And they're going to present this thing in some sort of amalgamation, a combination of what the directs and the digital events have looked like and, you know, felt like and kind of played out like. And I think that that's going to be great, you know, and I have to repeat this every time. A lot of you guys know, yes, I like live press conferences at E3. Even though they usually go terribly, I like it for the occasional times that they go great, and I do wish Nintendo was doing that. But I really don't care anymore, and like I said, I've resigned myself this year to the fact that they're probably never going to do that again. And I love Nintendo Directs throughout the year. I love digital events, even though those have also not always gone well. But I still just love what Nintendo does, man. So I'm excited, and I think that this is going to be great, mostly because I'm really expecting and crossing my fingers for some amazing games. So one other thing I want to do, though, guys, is address two specific ideas or possible outcomes from this Nintendo Spotlight at E3 that maybe one could phrase as like a negative if you want to look at it as a negative, but they're only theories, and I want to talk about some of the phrasing. So if we look at this here a little bit closer and read what it actually says about the Spotlight, on June 13th at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, tune into e3.nintendo.com for a look at Nintendo Switch games for 2017, including Super Mario Odyssey. So there you go. That initially sounds great. It sounds like everything I've already talked about. We're going to get some sort of digital event Nintendo Direct type presentation. Probably going to be amazing. Let's just be excited for that. Now, the two things I take away from this that one, I don't necessarily love. The other thing could be really not a big deal. The thing that's not a big deal, probably, is how they say they list Super Mario Odyssey specifically. And I think that that's smart. They should do that. It's going to be the biggest game they probably have this year, barring some huge, crazy surprise announcement, which we all know what we'd like that to be, but I don't think it's necessarily going to happen. So let's not expect that game series to show up this year. I think that that's next year. So they reference specifically Super Mario Odyssey, and there's the tiniest little eensy-beensy little part of my brain that goes, oh man, I wonder if they're going to focus almost entirely on Odyssey, just like they did last year for Breath of the Wild at E3. What if they were doing something similar? That's the thing that kind of lights up in my brain, and I don't think that that's what this means. I don't necessarily expect it, but if for some reason we ended up seeing a 30 or 40 minute presentation that was like 80% Super Mario Odyssey and then like a couple of little tidbits about other games, again, whether they're new or not new, that would be disappointing to me. Not because Mario Odyssey probably isn't going to blow me away just like we all expect it to. It already basically has blown me away. But what if? What if that's just something that happens and they're going to sort of, you know, in a weird way borrow from what they did last year and have a presentation that focuses very heavily on what they know is their biggest and most impressive game, which would be Super Mario Odyssey. As much as I want to see all the info I can about Odyssey, I don't want that from E3. I'd like to see them give us a typical presentation where we get a lot of information about many games, multiple games. I want to hear about Mario. I want to hear about Xenoblade. I want to hear more. Well, ARMS will be out by... Or no, ARMS will be just getting ready. No, ARMS will be out. Splatoon is the one. Sorry. That'll be coming out after. You know, I want to hear about that kind of stuff. I want to hear about whatever else that we've already known about. And surprise games, yes, I do want to hear that. And that's why I don't necessarily want to hear just about one game, no matter how impressive it is. But like I said, I don't really expect that. Some people might read into it and see that kind of happening. I personally don't. I think it's still going to be a regular presentation. Now, the other thing that they mention, and there's a lot to talk about here, is where they say, for a look at Nintendo Switch games for 2017. So this is basically confirming that Nintendo is going to, again, only focus on the most immediate games that are only supposed to be coming out by the end of this year. Now, this is tricky for me because I'm used to Nintendo doing this, and in the past, I've actually loved that. I think that that's been really smart, and it's a nice kind of polar opposite of what the other guys in the industry do, where they're willing to talk about stuff that's so far down the road. I'm looking at you, Square, with their Final Fantasies and Kingdom Hearts 3s, and also Sony with some of my favorite games that I'm looking forward to, Last of Us and God of War. Who knows when we'll see those games? You know, Nintendo doesn't typically do that. It's great. They give us stuff that feels tangible and real and ever-present and just right around the corner for us to be excited about and spend our money on, and it's really great and smart. And when it comes to E3 this year, right after the Switch, yes, that is still a smart business kind of practice to a degree, but I said this recently, I feel like this is the one year where I maybe don't want Nintendo to do that, and I don't think that it might be the smartest or best way for Nintendo to do that, because I think this is one year where they're proving a lot of the naysayers wrong with the Switch, and they're showing that they're willing to do all of the things differently that got the Wii U to become a failure, and that's great. To me, one of the best ways they can further show people that we're not the same Nintendo that messed up with the Wii U, the Switch is not the same console as the Wii U, much as I love the Wii U, it's not the same console as the Wii U, and a way that they can show us that they're making smarter decisions with this new console, to me, would be just for this year, so I don't want anyone freaking blowing their brains up, getting angry at me for saying this, just this year, give the people a promise of the future. Don't be afraid, Nintendo, to talk a little bit beyond just the next 6 months. Like, some people want to know whether we're Switch owners or whether there are people on the fence about owning a Switch. Maybe what they need to know is not just what's going to come out in 3 months, but what's going to come out in 2018 and 2019. Are you building a strong library for beyond just this year? We already know 2017 has a bunch of great games for the Switch. We already know that. That's great. Yes, we want to see that stuff, but is 2018 going to become a drought? Is 2019 going to become a drought? Are we ever going to be able to expect some great third-party games to come that aren't just indie games, but maybe some high-profile games? This is a great opportunity with your first immediate E3 right after the Switch launches to show us the future, to show us more than just 2017. And I think that would be smart, and honestly, I want that. I absolutely want that. So I'm both excited and glad that they're doing what they normally do and they're showing us the stuff that's tangible and real for 2017. That's great. But this is the one year where I wanted them to step away from that and be strong and confident and project a future that people can believe in. And, you know, it should be noted, it's not like I don't believe in Nintendo's future, guys, so I don't want you to mince my words too much. Most of you guys feel this way. Most of you guys know me. You probably know that I feel that way. But I do still think that there's a case to be made for proving it with actual content and games and discussions and previews of stuff beyond 2017. You know, like, let's just pretend we lived in a world where 2018 became a drought, just like the first year of the Wii U's. And granted, yes, that would be a second-year drought, not a first-year drought, but it's a drought nonetheless, and that would suck. I don't believe that's happening, but we have to kind of look at it from the perspective of not everyone is going to believe that, and Nintendo did shake a lot of consumers' trust with the Wii U, even some very diehard Nintendo gamers, and a lot of those people are coming back because the Switch is great. This is all true, but man, I just think that this is, you know, I got to wrap this up, so I just think that this would be a very smart business move for Nintendo this year to focus beyond 2017. I want to see them feel confident projecting a future for us for all time, you know, even going down the road into next E3s and stuff. But regardless, they're just giving us 2017 stuff, and at the end of the day, that is still okay. It's still exciting. I just want, you know, 2 or 3 surprise Switch games that we don't know about, you know, whether it's some surprise Beyond Good and Evil 2 thing or a couple of third-party games, you know, like, I always bring up, like, Red Dead Redemption or Dead Space 4, whatever the case may be. I would love to see some of these surprises come. Again, I don't expect to see that one series that we're all waiting for, you guys, just I know you're thinking about it. I want to see that stuff beyond just, you know, the handful of 4 or 5 games we already know about. So it's going to be up to Nintendo, man. They're focusing on 2017. They're going to focus on Super Mario Odyssey. They're going to give us some 3DS games. What's it going to be like? So yeah, I think that's it for now, guys. It's at the end of the day, I know I spent a lot of time on stuff that they should do that they might not be doing, but this is exciting. I'm pumped that they gave us the details. I love that they're promoting Super Mario Odyssey as much as they are. I just want to see more games promoted alongside of it. And, you know, hey, I love that they're giving us something that at least is called something different. I like the fact that it's not just digital event again. This shows a different Nintendo branding and packaging their presentations in a different way. How it's going to play out, we don't know. Will it be exactly like a digital event? Maybe. Will it be completely different from a digital event? Maybe. But we know the Treehouse is going to be there. They're giving us some in-depth looks at Splatoon and ARMS with these awesome tournaments we can expect, something that only Nintendo is awesome enough to do. So regardless, even if some of these things happen that I didn't necessarily love, I still expect great things. Nintendo's an awesome company. Mario is going to be amazing, even if it was the only game. It's going to be amazing. So, I mean, there's really nothing but stuff to be excited for, I think, personally. So let's just wait and see. What do you guys think? What do you think about some of this stuff? Do you think it means, you know, some of my theories like, oh, is it going to be just Mario, or are they going to show us 2018 games, or are you excited? Are you not excited? Do you think the Spotlight thing sounds cool? Tell me what you guys think, man. It's an exciting time. E3 is just, you know, a couple weeks away. Again, please check Twitter and Facebook and ask me questions for my E3 Q&A that I'm going to do in a week or so. Again, follow the links below down in the description if you have not done so already. And that's going to be it, guys. So thanks as always for tuning in. This is Rob of Rule of 2 Review, and I will catch you next time on another video.